Before we get started, or as we get started, I wanted to introduce you to some people who are in the chat or in the session. And excuse me, and you might recognize them because they had their SVAD kind of like windows behind them. But we have people from HR marketing, not HR marketing, PR marketing. I already screwed it up, Hannah. I'm so sorry. Hannah Estes, who's our marketing guru, that does everything kind of like in PR and social media and all that stuff for the School of Visual Art and Design. She's with us. We have Wahida, we have Yumi, and we have Jillian from advising. We also have, I'll introduce them a little bit more formally in a second, but we have Chuck Abraham, who is the head of the graphic design department, joining us from Galaxy long far away, yeah. long far, yeah, whatever. And then I screwed it up, Ashley. And then we have Ashley Taylor, who is one of the other colleagues from the graphic design department. So these are the people who are going to be, and my name is Victor Davila. I'm an associate professor of graphic design and illustration. So we are the people who could help you as you go through this journey of trying to apply into the program, whether you are applying this semester or whether you're applying next year or in coming years. So welcome, welcome. We have some South Florida folks. We have some Orlando folks. So wherever you are in Florida or in the States or in the world, welcome, or on campus. There we go. All right, Hannah, you gave me the word as to when you want me to formally start, and
you can go for it. I think we've got everyone. I'll keep admitting people who trickle in though.
All right, let's do this. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so can everybody see it if I play it? Are we good?
So far,
so good. All right, my people, welcome to the graphic design and illustration information session. Hopefully by the end of this session, a lot of your questions will be answered as to what we are looking for as a portfolio pieces, what we do in our program, and all the other questions that you might have be wondering about. This is a core faculty of the graphic design at UCF. As I introduced earlier, we have Chuck Abraham. Chuck is the head of the department. He is also an assistant director of the School of Visual Art and Design.
Associate, yeah.
Associate director of the School of Visual Art and Design. So he is a man of many hats. We have Ashley Taylor, who is also a woman of many hats, from printmaking to community building to graphic design and illustration. We have Dr. Ju Kim, who isn't here with us today, but she is also a woman of many hats, from typography and illustration and design. And then me at the end there, my name is Victor Davila. I am an associate professor. I illustrate, I design, and I'm also big on community as well, serving on the national board of AIGA, as well as the chapter, the AIGA local chapter in Orlando, amongst a few other things. So I'm going to pass it over to Chuck to talk about a few things first. Chuck.
Okay, well, I know a lot of you, one of the reasons we're holding this session is because a lot of you have questions about the differences between the two majors, the Studio Art BFA in illustration and the Emerging Media Graphic Design BFA and how they're different. So it's really very simple. And Victor, you want to move forward on these? There's just, I know there's the little tagline on there. Let's go to that first slide though, about the main differences between the two. So essentially, this is kind of it in a nutshell. The graphic design majors actually create art that combines text, images, color, animation, and other elements of design to create a cohesive message. And they utilize a lot of different elements to create that single hopeful voice that will get that idea across. Graphic designers tend to focus on a piece's entire look, including the colors, fonts, and layout. And one of the things that they really are emphatic about is that it's a broad kind of spectrum approach. It's not necessarily just a single image but it's a wide variety of delivery systems that that message is going to be taken and distributed through. Now, for illustration, it's a little bit different story. Illustration majors essentially they use their art to tell a story. They're concerned with learning to create specific images that are used to interpret the text or concept, usually the concept or process. And these are usually designed for integration in print and digital media, such as posters, flyers, magazines, books, animations, video games, films, and more. So the essential differences boils down to you want to bring the next slide up there, and it's really boils down to this. Both of them are usually, the main difference is how and why they're created. Both of them have characteristics that they are usually created with a commercial goal in mind. But the primary objective of graphic design is to utilize a wide variety of elements to communicate a clear and concise message. While illustration is more of a visual, it conveys a strong concept, and that in turn becomes one of those elements that's utilized by designers. So when you're working in illustration, you're creating usually a narrative or a conceptual illustration, and that is usually incorporated by a designer into an overall, it could be a campaign, it could be an informational graphic, it could be something that relates a clear and single concept message. So I hope that helps kind of clear up between the two of those. I think that the big thing is, they both are commercial in aspects. They both allow you to use your talents to make a living. And typically with illustration, you're concentrating more on the visual aspects of it, of a narrative or a concept, but you're dealing with a lot more elements when you're dealing with design, and a wider variety of distribution methods for that message.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
All right. Hannah, just a heads up from a programming standpoint, in this mode, I can't see my, I've lost my mouse. So if you have a question for me through chat or whatever, I can't see. So if you just want to relay whatever thing, just unmute yourself if you could. But I can't mute or, yeah. All right, so here are a couple dates that you might want to know about that are coming up. The applications for this year's graphic design submissions are coming up really quickly. The window opens up on Monday, January 30th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then it closes on Thursday, February 9th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, results will be sent by email by February 24th by 5 p.m., which is a Friday. All right. So whether you get accepted into the program or you don't get accepted in the program, you should expect an email by that time. All right. And if I say something totally wrong, Wahida and Chuck, please let me know.
Well, you're
all right. So another thing coming up really quickly is on January 24th, which I believe is next week, at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, it's the application portfolio review session by GDSA. So we'll talk a little bit about GDSA a little bit further down in the presentation, but one of the things that GDSA is a graphic design student association. And it's a group of students that get together to build community. They bring in speakers and that kind of thing. And in this case, they are putting together a review session so that if you are interested in applying to the program, you can show people, whether I'll be there as one of the reviewers. We're going to have, I think, Chuck, I think they might have asked you, Ashley Taylor. Yeah. So a few faculty, a few students, and a few alum of the programs that, that you will be able to show them your portfolio, and you'll get feedback based on their experience as to what that portfolio should keep, should remove in order to have the best success to get in. It's not a shoo-in to get in. It's not a guarantee that you'll get in, but it is feedback that you can get in. I think that the seats are limited, so you might want to look up the UCF GDSA .com, I believe it is, or their Instagram for some information, but that's coming up really quickly next week on the 24th, and that will be held in the Visual Arts Building, room 213A. Okay. I think those are really helpful, and I think in the past, some current students have been open enough to show students their own portfolios and talk about what they did and maybe what they would have done differently now. Okay. Usually we get over in the ballpark of over 120 applicants.
I'm going to jump in here because that number varies year to year. We've had several years where it's been well over 200. And when you get numbers that high, then you start looking at very low acceptance rates because our number is constant at 70. And we only accept 70 students a year primarily because of the facilities that we have and the number of faculty that we have. So keep in mind that number is not that's a number that was based. Did you get that from last year, Victor? Or
I believe so.
Yeah, so that was last year's number.
Or,
it may not be
or a couple of years ago, actually. Yeah, might be.
Yeah, because I thought it was around 170 last year. So
okay,
and that brings the acceptance number down to around 33%.
All right. So again, regardless of whatever, if we get 100, if we get 500, the number that we have to accept is 70. So that's your chances right now. What I would encourage you, and I think a lot of you are going through it right now, if you don't get in right now, you apply next year. And the second time around, we see a lot of people try again and then they get accepted. So I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Chuck, about kind of like to try again and what they should be doing in the meantime if they don't get accepted.
Absolutely. Don't look at it if you're really interested in getting in the program. Don't look at it as a dead end. If you are not accepted initially first time, you want to try for a second time. My best advice I can give is meet as soon as you can with SVAD advising. They will give you the best path forward so that you won't get stalled, where you won't. They'll help you to plan what courses will get you through without having to. When you're not actually in the program, you have to have a certain amount of hours outside of the core courses anyway. And they can kind of guide you there to make sure you stay on track and don't lose any time. But yes, absolutely. We have a lot of students. I know for a fact we've got at least, I've met with probably about 5 or 6 already this year that are applying for the second time with a much improved portfolio. So you look at it that way. That's an advantage. The advantage it gives you is it gives you more time to concentrate on honing
portfolio
and getting it up to a level where it should be.
Victor,
Well, did you have something else?
Yeah, thank you. So I just wanted to say a couple of things from the advising standpoint. If you are going to wait, if you don't get in the first time around and you plan on waiting and submitting again a year later, please realize that will delay your graduation by 1 year because this is a 2-year cohorted program. That's number one. And when you come in to meet with your advisors, your SVAD advisors, because you have other advisors on campus, we will start talking to you about, make sure there's an alternative or an alternate plan for a major if you don't get in and you don't want to wait. And if you wanted to wait, we will work with you on what electives you can take in the meantime while you wait to submit a year later. The critical thing here, or the important thing here, is for you to come and see us in SVAD advising early so that we have plans in place for you. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that we try as a group, as a faculty group, that we keep reminding ourselves is we try to teach the general design principles of designs. Sometimes we're asked if it's a UI UX heavy school, if it's a print heavy school, or it's a whatever. And the mandate that we give ourselves is that we try to teach the principles of design in general in an effort so that when you land after graduation, we've had students land in print and branding and UI UX or whatever, you can kind of hit the ground running and know the principles that are pretty much applicable, whichever part of the industry that you land on. We've even had some students with great success in industrial design and even interior design. After they leave our program, they go and get their master's in other fields like that. So we try to give a foundation of the general principles of design that you can do. Granted, that said, many of our projects are based on print and UI UX and even some motion graphics design. And going back to the faculty, I will mention that one of the classes we have is motion graphics with After Effects, and one of the faculty who is was missing from the list is Matt Dombrowski, who participates a lot and gives a lot to this program as well. The guide to a successful student, what gets a successful student? One of the things that we always say to anybody, whether you're in this program or on a sports team, is you get out of it what you put into it. So I think a lot of times students come into a classroom expecting that the faculty or the teachers or the school or whatever, their coaches are going to give them anything, everything, and they're ready to go, you know, like, we do everything for you and then you move on. And it's really you who have to be proactive about your role and your growth as a student, as a learner. So the most successful students that we've had are the ones that have been proactive, the ones who put time into it, the ones who strive to learn outside the classrooms, the ones who build community with peers. And that's not to say that you're going to build a club or a group or whatever, but it's maybe you get together every so often to review each other's works. You push each other to try new things and experiment into new directions that you might not consider otherwise. And demonstrate professionalism and respect for others. That should go without saying, but we try to build an environment where you realize that for the most part, you're going to have a job that you're going to be dealing with clients, that you're going to be dealing with creative directors. Someday you may also be a creative director. So you want to make sure that you demonstrate professionalism, that you have clear communication, and you have respect for each other. And we also want you to exhibit creative exploration and imagination and originality. So, excuse me, a lot of these should go without saying, but I think, and at the same time, they need to be put out there front and center, because to me, the main one is you get what you put into it. We shouldn't be the only avenue of your learning. You should be striving to learn outside the classroom, and then bring that into the projects that you're doing. And Chuck, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but
no, I think you put it very well, and it's exactly right. We should not be your only resource. I mean, we do have a lot of depth. We have people here that have a lot of experience in a lot of diverse fields, working within design and illustration. But it's never good to hear only one voice. It's good to, you know, to experience how other areas operate, how other people operate, and there are avenues to help do that through GDSA, but also with internships and things like that. So, yeah.
And I also want to point out line number 5. Open communication with your teachers is also key. If you have some sort of issue going on, we shouldn't hear about it like right before grades are due, at the end of the semester kind of thing. So having that kind of relationship, I think it's key. We're a 2-year program, as Wahid had said earlier. In year 1, which is your junior year, on each of those years, we break it down into 2 semesters, the fall and the spring semesters. And the first year we focus on design principles and practice, and it's a continuation of design fundamentals classes that you'll be taking to get into the program in the first place. But we'll be talking a lot about layout and icons and branding and symbols and all the things that kind of go behind that. Whereas in year 2, we start giving you a little bit more liberty, so that you're going to be building your portfolios that are a little bit more unique to you. So we're going to be focusing on the business of design, and we'll do packaging that year. And but the main goal is to give yourself a bit of a uniqueness to you. So the spring semester, your last semester in the program, we have a class called Special Problems in Graphic Design, which is your thesis class. So that by the time you get to that class, you hopefully have an idea of where you want to land and start building a portfolio that'll get you that opportunity. And hopefully after graduation, you'll get that employment opportunity that you want, whether doing branding, agency work, UI, UX, in-house corporate, like Disney creatives or things like that. We have very vast array of alumni in different facets of the industry. These are just some of the agencies or the companies, most recent companies that we have that some of our alumni are working at. Some of the things that aren't mentioned here are we had an alum go up to Atlanta after graduation and work in movie design, doing the graphic designs for movies, whether they're Avengers movies, Marvel movies or Stranger Things. So, and we have somebody, like it says there, that's doing over in Portland, doing Nike, over at Nike. We also have a lot of entrepreneurs who have started their own businesses or gotten together with their colleagues or their peers or students and started their own businesses. So we have a great network of alumni that we're really proud of and are doing really, really amazing things. These are the classes that you'll need to take in order to get into the program. And I'll also defer to Wahida and the advising group to back me up on this. But these are the classes that you'll need to take before you get in the program. And I believe that you can be taking it this final semester, the semester that you get accepted in. You just have to make sure that you pass it properly in order to move on and get accepted. So for instance, if you get accepted in the program, but you happen to fail Design Fundamentals 3D or whatever, or Drawing Fundamentals 2, then your access in the program will be rejected.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Wahida, your stars.
I was just going to say, yes, you would not be able to enter the program if you had not completed successfully past these foundation courses. But also a thing to consider is you have to have a 3.0 to enter and to stay in the program, a 3.0 grade point average to enter the program and to stay in the program. And if you are, if it's a 2.5, but you've completed all the prerequisites, that's not going to get you in, because this is a BFA only program. And that is one of the requirements for it. We have to have students in that are a minimum of 3.0.
And when we're looking at successful completion of these courses, we're looking for a C or B better at least in the courses that if you're enrolled in them or if you've completed them.
Right. And did I get those names right? Drawing Fundamentals, is it called Drawing Fundamentals 1 or just Drawing 1?
Yes,
I don't want to
Drawing
mess anybody
Fundamentals
up.
1 and 2.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
thanks.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
And these are the classes that you're going to be taking once you're in the program. And these are just some of the classes that you're going to be taking, because you also have other electives that are required and so forth. But the ones that are needed to as part of the core classes for the graphic design programs are these. And several of these, including intermediate graphic design 1, has to be taken before intermediate graphic design 2. Intermediate graphic design 2 has to successfully be taken before you can go to advanced graphic design, and advanced graphic design has to be successfully completed to get to special problems in graphic design. Intermediate graphic design 1 and advanced graphic design are both fall classes. Intermediate graphic design 2 and special problems in graphic design are both spring classes. That means if you happen to fail a class that is in the fall, for instance, you have to wait the whole year in order to be able to take it again and move forward with your cohort or with a different cohort. So just keep that in mind, the importance of taking classes in order, staying with your cohort, and passing the classes successfully. Wahida, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that one?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there are some DIG digital courses that are not listed here. They're the 2000 level courses. Those are not required for a portfolio, so we did not add them to the list here, but you will have to complete those. And again, once you meet with your advisor, we will actually create a plan for you once you're accepted for your next 2 years or your last 2 years. And again, once you're accepted into the program, we will send you an email with that plan in there so you'll have it. We're also working on updating your Pegasus PAC plans. So lots of things are happening, but rest assured that once you're admitted, we will be communicating with you which courses you must take in what semesters.
Chuck, did you want to add something?
No, I think Wahida just covered it pretty well. Again, those DIG courses, keep those in mind that they have to be completed before you graduate. But they're not really considered part of the core. So.
All right, a lot of y'all ask us what software we have. And for the most part, we have the industry standard of Adobe products. That's what we talk about. Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, After Effects, XD, for drawing now in the iPad Pro. In some cases, some students are using Fresco for UI UX. Some students in one of the classes are using Figma for drawing Procreate, for drawing Corel Painter, and for the comic book class and illustration, which I think we're going to talk about in a little bit, it's going to be Clip Studio Pro. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to go back really quick because I meant to point out that the names are a little bit weird because there's an intermediate graphic design and there's an intermediate computer graphic design, right? Intermediate computer graphic design focuses on UI UX, kind of like the screens kind of designs. So there you'll be doing a lot of apps and maybe thinking about how to get from A to B, from point A to point Z in an app. So you might be using XD and Figma and those. And then advanced computer graphic design is the motion graphics class that Matt Dombrowski teaches. And that is the one where he's one of the teachers. And that's where you'll be learning After Effects. I just wanted to point that out.
And Premiere.
We're actually changing the name of that one too.
Yeah.
The name is going to be changing shortly on that one, so less confusion.
Yes. So After Effects and Premiere.
Yeah.
And then we have a lab, and this is just some of the things that we have. These are our highlights. We have a lab with 36 Apple iMacs in the graphic design room. We have other labs throughout the university, and we have 2 labs in the visual arts building itself, with also Macs. But in the graphic design room, we have 36 Apple iMacs, 2 24-inch printers, large format printers, 2 printers that print up to 13x19 printers that we sometimes use for posters and such and things like that. We have binding supplies like a coiler and a saddle stitcher. We just got a Rezo machine, a Rezo printer, which is really, really awesome. We have a small press, letter press machine in our room. And in the downstairs in the print room, we have screen print facilities and other printing supplies that we highly encourage our students to participate and take in, because it really speaks a lot to the graphic design industry. And then we have things like Crickets, and this is just a highlight. We have other things that we do.
And we just purchased a Glowforge.
And a Glowforge. Wow, that's huge. So that's a big deal. Okay. And now I just wanted to kind of show you some examples of the graphic design work for our student work. So we have some packaging work. What we try to do is try to make things look as real as possible. A lot of these student works that I'm showing you, these particular 2 first students that I'm showing you are alumni now, and they're both working on agencies. So one of the things that we try to encourage students to do is not to just make things pretty, to have a concept, a strong idea that goes behind what you do, so that you can set yourself apart from other students that are just there to make things aesthetically pleasing or something else. But these are just some examples of the kind of work that we do, whether they're branding work, packaging work, rebranding work from one of the junior projects this past year. We do a lot of kind of like with textures. So this is one of the students a few years ago did this book where he was dealing with different textures of the dust jacket and how that tells a story. And in this case, it's meant to emulate the frosty shower, right? So we deal a lot with kind of like the thinking behind it, the concept behind the whys, the story that you're telling with the design, and why you do things. And we're always looking for that FedEx arrow. I tell the students, like, what is your wit? What's the cleverness that you're doing? And in this case, it's the 2 quote marks that become the D in the restaurant discourse. So it's that kind of thing that we try to encourage everyone to have, the thinking, the pushing of ideas into everything that you do. And we try to encourage, like in our classroom, now is the time to experiment. Now is the time to try different things. And we also try to encourage you to consider the computer as a tool. So if you have an idea where the computer might not be the best element to the best tool to do it in, then go find a stick outside in a puddle of mud and see what you can do with that in your camera and things like that, and how you bring it into your overall designs. But we try to embrace different styles of design, but we really try to preach the thinking of the concept and the ideas behind everything that we do. And then we mentioned Graphic Design Student Association earlier. They are a group of students. They're great students that do a lot of programming for the student body. We have student members that aren't even graphic design students. We've had psychology students and English students be our part of our the student group that meets with them. They organize speaker. In a few weeks, they have something called Citrus Space, which is going to be in late February, which is like a Saturday, a day conference with workshops in the morning and speakers in the afternoon. So be on the lookout for more information on that soon. They're also the ones that organize travel to conference Creative South, which is in Columbus, Georgia. And they might have some workshops about how to do things that we might have started in class that are student driven. They might also have workshops where they bring other speakers, or they might also have like fun things like, I don't know, fun design events. And then there's also AIG Orlando, which is I mentioned earlier, which Ashley Taylor is involved with, and I am involved with as well, and she's there right now, which is a professional organization for design. One of the chapters, one of many chapters nationwide that promote design and the professional aspects of design, speakers, workshops as well. And the current board of AIG Orlando happens to have a lot of our former students, because they go to GDSA events, they go to our events, and they become design leaders and design community leaders in that aspect. So we promote getting yourself out there, helping others, building communities, not just being part of this small kind of like design desk that you might have in your room or in the classroom. So these are our contact information if you want to contact us directly. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Obviously, advising is your best source of information regarding your plan to graduate. Chuck is a great source of information about the program and how what you might be able to do to solve some of the challenges that you might have. And then Ashley, Dr. Kim, and I can help you regarding classes and what to expect when you are in classes. And all the faculty can give you a fresh pair of eyes in your portfolio if you have any questions regarding portfolios. Did I miss anything? All right. So I'm going to unshare, stop sharing now. And I'm going to scan the chat if anybody has any questions. And Chuck, do you want to go ahead and start? Do you want to talk about illustration a little bit now?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the illustration program is works essentially different from graphic design, is that emerging media has three sort of prongs. There's graphic design, there's experimental animation, and there's character animation. And those are our areas that are more technical in terms of what is utilized to create the work. Illustration is essentially still in the studio arts area. It is a BFA degree only as well. Right now, it's currently it's listed as hybrid. It's listed as drawing/illustration and painting/illustration. But what you do is you again have to have a 3.0. You have to complete all of the foundation courses that you need, just like you do inside of graphic design. There is a separate portfolio application that is listed as the sophomore portfolio review. The portfolio review for graphic design is not the sophomore portfolio review. I want to separate that and iterate that right now. It is the Emerging Media Graphic Design Portfolio Application. That is the formal name of it. So if you're looking for that on the SVAD site, make sure you go to Emerging Media first, select graphic design, and then look at the application process there. They're both very different. What we look for in graphic design is not what we look for in illustration. We're looking in illustration for very strong sort of just basic skills in drawing and painting. But the other side of that is You choose how many hours you want to dedicate on the studio side toward that degree. That's what gives you that degree. When you get a degree here at UCF, it's not going to read, oh, I got my BFA in illustration. It's going to read studio art. If you get it in graphic design, it's not going to read that you get it in graphic design. It's going to say emerging media. So it's separated between those two basic categories. However, it's the amount of hours that you put in to the program, that your specialization track, that dictates where your specialization is. So in illustration, you take up to 18 hours inside of the area. The courses are essentially right now, we have not a lot, but some of them are repeatable so that you can concentrate on working toward your ultimate goal, which is the BFA exhibition, creating a body of work that is exhibited there. And once that you pass that course, that is what determines whether or not you get your degree in that area. So we concentrate on illustration on, again, sort of like Victor's talking about. Year one is kind of some basics. There are some specialized courses like the intermediate illustration course, which concentrates on graphic novels and comics. The advanced course, however, gives you a little more leeway. You're getting a sampling and an overview of editorial work, concept work, environmental and character design. So those are kind of split into multiple assignments that give you the opportunity to kind of sample those areas. Then if you take that course for the second time, you concentrate really on building that body of work for the BFA exhibition. And then there's also directed independent studies that you can take where you work with an individual instructor to build and hone that portfolio. One of the things that we talked about and discussed in the advanced course is the business aspects of illustration. It differs greatly from fine arts in that this is 9 times out of 10 what you're working on is for a commercial purpose. And so we talk about contracts, we talk about building that portfolio and how to target that portfolio toward a specific organization or company or design studio that you want to work with. Other than that, like I say, the big difference is it's really about what the intent of it is. I know a lot of excellent illustrators who are wonderful designers, and vice versa. I know a lot of wonderful designers that are incredible illustrators. If you have both of those capabilities, that's going to just simply give you more to offer to an employer, a potential employer. So I think my feeling is always, I know there's this kind of separation between the two. To me, they're just sort of two sides of the same coin, and they work together all the time in the real world. And if you can understand both aspects of it, you're just gonna simply double your opportunities in terms of what you can work with out in the real world. I've got some samples too here. I've got tons, but I don't want to go through too many. But these are simply sort of things what you would see. There'd be examples of environmental works. Some of them are character and concept for character design. Some of them are editorial pieces. So I'll pull a couple of those up if you guys want to see those. I'm not going to go through the whole kit and caboodle of them because I've got about 120 here. Let me see if I can find these.
I have a quick question. We're talking about graphic design and then illustration. Is the same portfolio review for both of those, or
no, it's not. It is, yeah. For the studio art illustration, you would use the sophomore portfolio review, which is if you look up online, that's the studio art application.
It's
actually called it's called the studio art portfolio.
Okay,
studio art portfolio.
Then the 70 people is for the graphic design portfolio, right?
Yes, correct.
Just making sure and getting those numbers. Okay.
Yeah, in the studio art BFA, there is no cap.
But there is an admission process. It's not automatic, so we can definitely reach out if you need some additional information on that. Reach out to us at SVAD Advising, and we'll let you know.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm gonna share the screen here just a little bit, and I'll run through just a couple of these samples. I don't want to bore you guys with too many of these things, but let me see if I can. Oh, I hit. And nothing's coming up. Ah, there it is. Okay. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
So this is a sample of environmental design and also concept design for just again, building a strong narrative, telling a story, and you can immediately read in all sorts of situations in this. Who's this character? Where is it going? What's the location? So this is what you're doing is kind of world building when you're working in this type of area of illustration. This is a little more fantasy oriented piece, typical for, could be concept art for games or film. This is another environmental piece. Students concentrate very heavily on building a look that's unique to a specific world in the genre that they're trying to illustrate for. It could be fantasy, it could be science fiction, it could be a period piece. It could be, almost anything that you cover in every realm of fiction. Another science fiction piece here. This is a little more of concept design, character design. This particular student actually put this together as a comic, and these were the characters that were involved in the storyline that she had done. Here's some more from the same story. And this is one of the characters, just a little quick doodle color concept. Students can use almost any, we have the Mac-based lab, again, 35 seats. We have 13-inch Cintiqs that students can use. Primarily the software that we utilize is Corel Painter and Photoshop and Illustrator. However, there are other options. We do demonstrations in ArtRage, Procreate. A lot of students will work on tablets as well. Procreate's has become an excellent resource and software for the utilization of not just sketches, but final work now. So these are some samples. This piece here was actually done on the iPad using Procreate. These were based on a series of fairy tales, informational graphics, editorial graphics. This is an editorial piece here about the history of animation. Key art for movie posters, anniversary poster for Donnie Darko. This is a cover for a comic book that one of our students just finished up last year. This is more along the lines of concept design, editorial design again, and illustration, editorial illustration. Packaging, illustration for packaging design. This is for a series on old radio shows. This is a series of illustrations based on American Tall Tales. This is this student's take on classic fairy tales. Character and concept design again. More concept design for environmental work. This was key art or pre-production for a film, animated film. Poster design. This was for a Shakespeare's play on Cleopatra. This is again another just basic editorial illustration. This is for a fiction story about the invasion of a lighthouse by cannibalistic rats. So another one on this. So I don't want to go through all of these things on here, but these are some good solid samples of just some of the typical student work that's done inside of the program. This is actually one of the redesigned character cards for the game Clue. And this is just a student's personal piece for some concept design on there. This is another editorial piece, not editorial, sorry, concept piece. And another one for just, again, concept design on that. So
sorry, Chuck, just to clarify, those were for like the BFA illustration, right?
No,
Examples.
these are not all of these.
Graphic
No,
design.
these were just some samples from both the comic course
Okay.
and from the advanced illustration course.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
no, students, when they work on their BFA, it's much more personal work. It's a body of work that they define what they want to create. If some of the students happen to work in are more interested in character design or environmental work, we guide them on that and help them out with that, not just with resources in terms of reference material and things like that, but also most of our faculty, all of our faculty in the area have working experience in those fields. Everything from key art for motion pictures to packaging design, all of that. That's one thing I'm really proud of our faculty is as a whole, they're not just teachers. They've been working in this field. I myself, this is my 50th year in working as an illustrator and a designer. So you got a wealth of information and experience to pull from when you're taking these courses.
Hannah, do you want to go ahead with the
All right.
questions?
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and start answering some of your questions. If you would like to come off mute and speak your question, go ahead and raise your hands and we'll go.
Hannah,
into-
there are a lot of questions in the chat. Should we do the chat ones first?
Yeah,
Or do you
let's
want
do
to?
the
Yeah,
chat
I'm
first.
Let's do the chat
saying-
ones.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if you'd like to speak it rather than type it, go ahead and raise your hand and we'll come back to you. But yes, we're going to start off with some questions in the chat. Just a second, go up to the top here.
I think the first one that I see is Kai Willis. Is that the first question?
Yes, Kai Willis. Okay.
Okay, I'll start there.
Are there anywhere that we can see examples of successful portfolios? That's the question.
I've got 5 unnamed student portfolios I've got pulled up here. I can share those with you guys. They are pretty much in line with what our expectations are. And but I will say this it's still a very individualized process. We don't have a number count like the studio art one. The studio art wants to see 2 drawings from drawing 1. They want to see 2 drawings from drawing 2. They want to see X amount of work from 2D design, X amount from 3D. Ours is a little more open. We want to see if you've had working experience, if you've created assignments on your own or projects on your own, if you feel like those are strong representations of your best work, that's what we want to see. So let me pull up a couple of these really quickly here, and you guys can get a little bit better idea. Now, these portfolios I'm about to show you, the student names have been removed. We've had clearance on allowing us to show these. But I will say also on this that some of the projects that you're going to see in here, some were for outside areas. So I would not, if you're recording this or looking at it somewhere, just, it would not be a good thing if this showed up somewhere else as someone else's work. Let me put it that way. So just take a look at these and we'll talk about them a little more. What is also missing from these is we do ask that you send in just a brief paragraph as to why you're interested in the program and why you're interested in graphic design. We want to know a little bit about what is driving you toward this area and really interest you about this area. So that is actually the first thing that should be included in the portfolio would be that information that you're going to put on there. All right, let me pull these up real quick here. Can you guys see this okay?
Yes.
So most of these are going to be formatted. They're going to have a little bit of information telling the reviewer what course it was done for or what general context it was presented in. This one is done for a stamp design. It's an introduction to computer art. This is an introduction to computer art piece as well. This is just a self-portrait done in Illustrator. Personal work by the student, which is very type driven. Here's another one. This is hand lettering. Here's some personal work, and these are adapted to applied areas here, like for these cups. Here's another one, more hand lettering design. Social media. This is some Instagram pages. Logo design. More logo design and branding. sculpture and design. Also showing it applied to a nice substrate and presented as if it were a real piece. This is one straight from foundations and fundamentals in 2D design. Here's another piece here for 2D design. And again, working with pattern, working with positive negative space, symmetry, anything that is one of the basic principles of design is always good to showcase. This is just showing some drawing skills. This is from Drawing Fundamentals 2. This is from 3D design, always good to show multiple views, especially of any 3D objects. And you can put multiple images per page. It doesn't have to be a single image per page. So that is one.
Can I chime in on that really quick, Chuck?
Absolutely.
So there's a few things that I see right away when I look at a portfolio as red flags. If I see them in my portfolio, the red flags. One of them, I want to make sure that presentation is key. Usually what I tell students is to make it at the aspect ratio of 1920 by 1080, like this one is, because when we look at it in our portfolios, we'll usually kind of like fit the PDF to the screen and just look at it really quickly. So it just makes it easy. The other thing is, like in these examples that Chuck is showing us now, if you have a drawing from drawing 2, for instance, make sure that you photograph your pieces cleanly. We had one year where somebody had a Coke can on the, behind the sculpture, and we were all wondering, like, is that part of the sculpture? It's like, what is that? It turned out it was like just a random Coke can that was just in the kitchen. So make sure that what you're presenting is presented well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Make sure that, it again, you don't want just light it, take it outside, get a good flat lighting for it too. Make sure that what you're including in that portfolio really works for you in terms of how it presents itself. Let me see here. This is another.
Quick
And please
question.
spell things correctly.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Was that a passing portfolio, the ones that you're showing?
Yeah, the ones I'm showing you were all passing portfolios.
All right,
yes.
perfect.
Yeah. Here's a client project, a logo for outreach group. This is a nice way to present the material, especially from a 3D state, because they're showing us how they think. They're showing us the process that went from the initial concept to the execution on this. So this is a really, really good way and strong way to present 3-dimensional material. This is from a Design Fundamentals 3D. This was actually a wall installation art piece. And they're also showing it in the context of how it would ultimately be presented. This is just a poster for a playbill mock-up, Introduction to Computer Art, but again, showing basics about fundamentals of design. Here's a little character design. This is from Drawing Fundamentals 1. And this is also from 1. This is from 2. This student, I will say, had quite a few drawings in here. I would not recommend, I would think 3 pages of drawings would be more than enough. If we start to see a lot of painting or a lot of drawing, that sort of tells us the student is actually probably a little more interested in illustration as opposed to design. So you want to make sure that it's balanced well. You're not filling in with things that you just happen to have, but you that are going to have a good enough impact. Whatever you put in should be what you consider to be a good example of your best work.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. So you're saying what pages, and we can have multiple pictures on each page, but do you still want only one piece per page, just multiple pictures?
No,
of one
you
piece?
can put multiple pieces per page. If you look here, she's got 3 drawings here essentially.
Okay. Well, that's the same drawing, just different pictures of the same drawing.
Right, it's showing detail, but in this case, this is 2 different drawings.
Okay.
Here, this is close-ups of this, but yeah, I mean, you want to present this material so that it really it catches the eye, and again, shows your ability to do best kind of work. Here's some interactive design. These are some just typography assignments, and then again back to foundations, again working with color theory.
I have a quick question. As far as logo work does, are we allowed to incorporate any logo work that we have possibly done for any clients?
Sure, absolutely. You're going to
Okay.
see one here in a minute that has that. This is again drawing fundamentals 1. This is 2. Again 2. This student also had quite a few drawings. Again, I would say probably 3 groupings would be enough. 2 different 3-dimensional, abstract and non-representational. Value and color studies. This is very foundations related, but it's really presented well and works exactly as it should, showing us the students how they think, but also their craftsmanship, their ability to incorporate these principles and designs into an overall consolidated image. Here's one for initial color composition, organic line shape compositions. This is a diptych just on 2 different elements about television.
And notice how the
Photo
images
restoration.
are crisp. They're not blurry. A few of you who have looked at work so far have had very blurry kind of like images of your work, of your sculptures or whatever. And we all have, like, most of us have phones now that have fairly decent cameras. So you make sure that you take a crisp picture.
Absolutely. You want to have this again, whatever you're putting in there really should present itself as well as possible. And this is 2 different assignments on here. This is a stamp design and a self-portrait out of Illustrator. So again, this one's very heavy in foundation areas, which is good. This shows that the student, even though they're still at a beginning level, they're able to create excellent work working with those basic principles of design. Let me close some of these off here. I think this is the one. Yeah. Here's one with album design. This was also done from an assignment, I believe, in one of Ashley's classes. Here's another graphics for a food truck. In this case, it's a tarot and palm reading truck. UX design, social media posts. Personal business cards, so basic branding. Intermediate printmaking. This is you can incorporate almost any studio course that you've had or any art course. You can definitely or design course. You can definitely utilize material that you've created in there. Here's one from drawing 2, and then back to foundations again. Representational and abstract birdhouses and 3D design. Non-representational sculpture.
Something that I wanted to ask was, so for like graphic design work, like if it's through like Adobe Illustrator, if we worked on things for like to advertise like a brand or something, would that be allowed to use like big brands like Nike, or would it have to be like a generic brand?
I prefer myself. Victor, you may want to chime in on this too. What's your opinion on this? I want to see original work. I want to see, and if you've done work for outside, if it's for a client, specific, mom and pop client or whatever, even a small business, I would prefer that. Now, if you had actually done work for a lot in real life for a major corporation or something, obviously, yes, you could include that, but that would also have to be provided they have you're allowed clearance to do that from that company and corporation. But I personally would prefer you even make a company up as opposed to working with something that's already there. Victor,
Okay.
what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of times especially where it depends if you're doing work for Nike or even a local Nike store or whatever, that's one thing. But I think a lot of times when we are doing things for a big company like Nike, we're just repeating something that Nike has already let out. So it gets a little bit dodgy as to, are you making the decisions, or are you seeing somebody else making the decision and doing it yourself, doing it again?
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
here's one for a mural proposal for a warehouse. Another album cover here. These are gig posters, and again, this is a fictitious group and a fictitious. This is a good example of what we were just talking about. They made up their own idea. for a group and created the poster for the performance of it. And then this is another label design for a apiary. This is one of the students' personal concept that they actually sold some of these and this merchandising elements. So you can be entrepreneurial. You know, you can use yourself as a client and create work based on what it is you want to get out to the public. This is just a concept illustration using Procreate and Photoshop. Another one. Here's some drawings. This is 3 different drawings. They go from run the gamut from drawing 1 to drawing 2 to personal works. And then again, fabrication for 3D printed toys. And then the piece over here is from 3D design for a paper recliner. And then these are actual pieces that were done for a real client. And they've given that client credit on this. So they actually did the photo stylings that were used for the photo shoot for the promotion of these items for a shopping network. All right, we got one more here. Again, drawing 1, 3D design, fundamentals and foundation to design work. In this case, it's 2D design working with value. Here's another piece from 2D design. Here's others that are working with color theory and just the medium is acrylic and pencil. Movie poster, original design for a re-release or a special showing of the film Alien. And then again, album cover design, branding, and a little bit of information work. Huh?
Can I pause you real quick? Because going
Sure.
back to the question that was earlier about Nike, these last 2 ones that you just showed with Alien and Metallica are a good way to approach it. If you're going to do something with organizations that already exist, do something totally different than what they're already doing. So you're just not repeating what Alien is doing, for instance.
Exactly. And also do it in your own style, in your own voice. That's the big thing. And let's see, these are some Instagram graphics. And then business, just basic generic kind of branding and label design. A little bit of website design, and I think that's it on that one. So yeah. So those are some good examples of successful successful portfolios that went through the application process. Again, you could see that there were a lot of diverse types of elements in there. They weren't all following the same sort of cookie cutter approach. And that's what we want to see. We want to see what you're capable of producing and what you consider to be examples of your best work.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go back to the questions over here in the chat. Do you need a 3.0 GPA to have your portfolio accepted?
Yes, the GPA is actually the courses that are calculated is the prerequisites courses. So you're drawing 1, drawing 2, 2D, 3D, and introduction to computer art courses. And your art history courses is what they're looking at.
Another one, does submitting earlier raise your chances of getting in?
No. We
Not
look
at
at them
all.
all at the same time.
Yeah.
Are you able to do the graphic design program part-time, or do you have to do it full-time?
Full time.
You have to take the graphic design classes in your cohort as they happen.
In the correct sequence.
Yeah, the important thing is the major courses have to be done the semester that we are recommending that you do them in to see it in the cohort.
And then what is the portfolio submission deadline? A lot of this information you can find on our website. And this next one as well, how many pieces should be in the portfolio? Those are all questions that you can find on our portfolio page. I just added,
I added it again too. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It closes
and
on February 9th.
I will have a brief video that we'll post up there too on how to put this together as a consolidated PDF. I'll have that by Monday.
Awesome. Are there study abroad options for the graphic design track?
You would definitely want to do that before you get into the program, because once you're in the
Mhm.
program, you have to be here taking those courses in person.
Anna, can I
Yeah.
pause you for a second? Because there was a
Yeah.
question in between that, but I just noticed it was just sent to me. The person says, I'm from Haiti, and until I immigrated to the United States, I only knew the traditional way of making art. I only have drawings, woodwork, sculpture pieces that I can show in my portfolio. I wanted to know if I'm able to submit the traditional media, or does it have to be digital art? It doesn't have to be digital art as far as I'm concerned, whatever you feel your best work is. But what Chuck said earlier about whether, if we feel it's too much painting or sculpture, then we'll probably encourage you to maybe try one of those tracks. But no, I mean, do you have any other?
I mean,
thing?
design can be created with any of those tools you just mentioned. It doesn't have to be totally digital, but it should reflect some aspects of design, not just drawing or painting. Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah.
Awesome.
Sorry.
All right. Do grades from a previous major non-required courses count against in your GPA, or is the GPA calculated only from the required courses?
For portfolio review, they're looking at only the program specific prerequisite courses, and those are on the website.
Yeah. If we have previously submitted a portfolio and were not accepted, when we reapply, can we submit some pieces that were already previously submitted?
As
Sure.
long as you consider it's your best work.
Yeah.
I'm going to Valencia currently. I have majority of my prerequisite courses and have applied for graduation. Can I still submit my portfolio?
You can submit your portfolio if you've completed all of these courses or is currently enrolled in them. However, if you are accepted into the program, you must be accepted to UCF. It's a different application process. Our office and our portfolio reviewers are not involved in the UCF admission process. So if you are admitted for the fall, or if you were accepted for the graphic design track for the fall, you must make sure that you are enrolled or have been accepted to UCF for fall.
And then the next couple questions are about portfolio, which we already answered. Let's see. I think you just answered this, but is the 3.0 GPA requirement for the cumulative UCF GPA or your major GPA?
Just the major GPA, and for portfolio review, it's only for those courses listed on the website. Once you're in the program, we are looking at your major specific courses for GPA.
Do you have to?
I'll go back. Let me go back to the previous question that we kind of skipped. Can the portfolio be in vertical format? It could be whatever format that you want, really. We've had vertical, we've had horizontal. I personally prefer it 19:1, yeah, square. I personally prefer it at that specific aspect ratio, just because it makes it easy for us to review. But whatever way you want to present it, really, as long as the work is clean and clearly presented,
and consistent in the format. In other words, you don't want to have one page landscape and then the next page portrait. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you need to include your transcript with your portfolio if you're taking a prerequisite class this semester?
Only if you're not a UCF student, or if you're taking that class not at UCF. If you're taking the class at another institution, yes, there is an area for you to upload your unofficial transcript to show us that you've completed the classes or that you're currently enrolled in it.
We kind of answered this, but are there types of pieces that the judges particularly like to see in our portfolio?
Your best work.
Your best work.
I'm supposed to take my last class, GRA 2102C, next semester and graduate. Am I still able to apply now to be pre-accepted for next year?
You'd have to wait until,
No, you'd have to wait until next year. Yeah.
For the first page of our portfolio submission, are you looking for a formal cover letter or just a brief paragraph?
Brief paragraph. just to again, give us information as to why you're interested in graphic design, what it is about the discipline that is that you're interested in, why you're interested in that field, pursuing that as a profession. Because that's one thing I want to stress with everybody that's listening is this is a profession. It's a career. It trains you to utilize your talents to make a living, and but you also want to keep in mind there's a constant approval process that you're going to be going through once you're out of here. But while you're here, we really want to concentrate on prepping you and getting you ready for that, for working in that as a career, as a long-time profession. So.
All right. Do prospective students, freshmen, have to submit a portfolio of any kind?
No, not until the prerequisites are completed or enrolled in.
I think we answered this. Do you just want one picture per project? You can have.
Yeah,
No,
I think
it
Chuck
could
went
be-
over that already.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, give me multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 3 questions. Can I apply to 2 of the emerging media tracks? If I get accepted into the graphic design track and decide to switch to experimental animation, would I have to resubmit my portfolio for experimental animation? Also, are some classes shared between tracks so I can take those in the fall while waiting for the next submission period if I do get into the graphic design and want to reapply next spring for experimental animation?
So you would want to apply for all 3 of them at the same time. If you start the graphic design program, we would hope that you would, if you get accepted, we would hope that you would continue. If you plan on starting it, if you get accepted and then stopping and submitting your portfolio for experimental animation, you can do that. We do not encourage it. However, you cannot complete 2 tracks. It's one or the other. You cannot borrow courses from one or the other. If you are, let's say you get into graphic design and you started, but then you switch to experimental, you will not have access to any of the graphic design courses if you were to make that decision.
And
I
I
think-
will.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Oh, I was just going to add that it will really slow down your ability to stay on track to graduate at a regular, normal time.
Yes, it will delay graduation.
And I think the spirit of the question is you're not applying to emerging media and then able to switch around between emerging media
Yeah.
majors.
That
You're
doesn't
applying to
work that
graphic
way.
design, and then you have to submit to experimental animation. We're 2 different tracks. So we
And
don't share any
character
classes.
as
So
well.
you're either there, or you're over here, and you're not in both at the same time.
And there's 2 different portfolios and reviews.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Who will be the people reviewing the portfolio?
It will be everyone who's involved in teaching in the program, and we also have some external reviewers as well. And the number of those vary from year to year.
As far, oh, sorry. Did you have something to add?
No, just clear.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. As far as formatting the portfolio digitally, what platform or software are we recommended to use and how should we lay it out?
Whatever exports a PDF.
Yeah, I would recommend, using Acrobat, obviously, to assemble it, but how you create them could be any program, as long as you're getting a good, clean image, a presentable image. But I personally would highly recommend Acrobat to assemble it.
Some people are using InDesign or Illustrator to assemble it as well and then export it from there. So
Yeah. If previous credits not from UCF were accepted by UCF for a course needed for graphic design, would someone still need to take the course at UCF?
We typically do not accept any track specific courses. However, the prerequisites, if you've completed them and they were already accepted and reviewed, you do not need to retake them.
Are we able to apply to both the graphic design and studio art tracks at the same time?
Yes.
For this, yeah, for the studio art, just make sure you have all the courses completed. For graphic design, you can be enrolled in them. However, for the studio art one, you have to have them completed.
And do keep in mind that there are two very different portfolios. They're going to ask for some very specific things in the art studio side.
Yep, and all of those specifics are on our website.
Yes.
The next couple questions we already went over. So if I applied for admission at UCF for a specific course, would I be able to switch courses until/during my admission? I'm sure I understand that.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be able to take a specific course unless you're doing like non-degree seeking or something. We need some more clarification on that one.
Yeah, Sophia, if you're still here, did you want to clarify?
Did you mean if you apply for a specific major?
Yes, major, not course.
Okay, so if you applied, if you applied to UCF for a specific major, would you be able to switch majors? It depends. I mean, yes, you can always switch your major. It will delay your graduation, and then requirements have to be met. So you might want to send us SVAD advising a specific email on which majors you're thinking about.
Yeah. Have you accepted any Ringling transfers?
Yeah, we've had students who were had formerly attended Ringling and decided to come to UCF for whatever reason. And yeah, we've had, I think over the last, well, since I've been here, which is over 25 years now, I can remember at least 5. So.
On the graphic design portfolio website, it says it must be 150 PPI. Is this the entire PDF or each photo within the portfolio?
That's the images that you bring in to the PDF.
We answered that one. Do judges like to see photography?
Again, if it's an example of really good work and what the student feels like is showcases maybe a principle of design, or just find it to be a good example of composition or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
I would say as a part of it too, obviously we're not the photography department. That's a whole different kind of like track. So if most of your portfolio is photography, I would say you need to add more pieces in it that reflect.
Yeah, it could be a component, but yeah, you want it to be diverse, not just one thing.
Can we color correct our drawings?
Sure.
Yes.
Do we need to list the client's name? They include work.
Yeah, it would help. Yeah. If it's for an actual client, yes, you can.
Do we need to put dimensions of each piece?
Not really, no.
Only if it's like an impressive thing, like if you build something like super big or whatever.
Yeah, if it's a mural, wall mural or something like that, yeah. If it's shown in context to how it's actually used, that helps. If you have composited into an area where it gives us a sense of scale, that helps.
Is the written portion separate or a page within the portfolio? If so, is it okay if it's written on the same 19 by 20 by 1080 landscape page as the rest of the portfolio?
Yes, for both of those. Yes, it needs to be the first page in the portfolio and it can be presented in that landscape format.
Can your portfolio be a website portfolio or only a slides type of document?
We prefer not slides because a lot of people that look at these things, if we have some external reviewers, they're going to be looking at it on a wide variety of devices. If it's set up as a slideshow, it might not function. So keep it simple.
Wait, you're saying no, I think you said slides, but you said you prefer not websites, right?
No, I said that they may be looking at on the content on different devices.
Okay.
Did I say websites? I didn't mean
websites. No, you said that you preferred not slides.
I prefer not a slideshow, like a PDF slideshow.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the functions you have inside of several software packets. we want to just see them as single images, a single page image that we can go through very quickly. Because again, we're not the only people that look at them. There are some people on the outside that look at these as well.
Yeah, a PDF document is probably your best bet.
Yeah, always.
Do we receive feedback on our portfolio when we submit, regardless of the decision we receive?
If you want to come talk to me about why your portfolio did not get accepted, or if you want to come talk to me about why it did get accepted, you can come talk to me during my normal office hours, which are on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 3 p.m. And set up a time. I'll be happy to sit down and go over. If it didn't get accepted, I will, usually a lot of our reviewers will leave comments as to why. And I can certainly walk you through that and tell you what was working and what wasn't.
I think we answered this next one. Would book cover design be considered more graphic design or illustration?
If it's an illustration that has text over it, then it's graphic design using illustration, so it could be both. I mean, I think at the end of the day, a book cover could be a really a good piece to include, if that's what you're wondering.
Yeah.
Are 70 portfolios accepted for each track, or overall only 70 will be accepted?
Only the graphic design is 7. Well, maybe is experimental 70 now too? Wahida?
Experimental is 90.
Yeah. Okay.
And Chuck, what is character?
Character is 30.
Chuck and I have a running joke with this 30.
So yeah, each one of the tracks accept different numbers. Experimentals accepts the most if they're accepting 90. We only accept 70. Character only accepts 30.
What would be a good breakdown of how many pieces that should be included for each category? Example, for drawing, include 3-ish pieces.
Again, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the biggest number of pieces should reflect your design abilities as opposed to your drawing or your photography or anything else. I think the sculptures, you don't want like 5 sculptures, a couple of sculptures are fine. But I don't think the bulk of it should be something that's not associated with design.
Absolutely. But, foundation stuff is essential and important, but we want to see what you're thinking, how you're thinking, and what your abilities are in design elements.
Would you recommend using digital art pieces based on existing media? Not sure.
Sure.
I'm guessing it's like how paint or fresco emulates real paint. Again, to me, the medium is secondary to the quality.
Yeah.
So you can use whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. And again, we've had portfolios that were nothing but traditional media. Because when we first started doing this, digital media was still kind of coming into vogue. So yeah, I mean, it really is, again, dependent on what you consider to be your best work.
Can we have a letter of recommendation or a resume within the portfolio?
We don't need a
think
letter of recommendation. Yeah.
It won't necessarily help or anything like that. So
Can you take the DIG courses while in the 2-year graphic design program, or do they need to be completed before starting the program?
They can be completed while they're doing the graphic design courses. It just have to all be completed before graduation.
If we were previously in a different major like architecture and have a lot of 3D physical models as well as digital work done in Adobe programs, can we present them in the portfolio?
I think I'll refer back to our previous comment about it could be a few of them, but probably not the bulk of them. In the same way that we talked about photography. Yeah.
Yeah. The emphasis should be on design.
I've seen some past portfolios and all of them had a title page before the written portion in the bulk of the portfolio. I'm assuming this means that a cover or title page is required.
It's not
I'm
required.
not sure if it's required. I think it's helpful. I think it's super helpful.
You can certainly put one in. It's not going to count off as one of your pages. You know, and again, the next, if you're including a cover page, then the next page that's going to be there is going to be that brief description as to why you're interested in the program. And then you go into the portfolio. So those first introductory pages don't count against you in your page count.
Is there a list of unrestricted graphic design courses if we don't get in and need to apply next spring so we can stay on track while waiting to officially be in the program?
Hannah, you want to reach out to SVAD advising. We will work with you on what courses you are able to take if you need to apply a year from now, because it all depends on what you've already completed.
If I don't have much experience in Adobe programs, but have done digital designs with my phone with other apps, is that acceptable?
Again, it's a tool. Whatever your best work is, you put in your best work. So
if your GPA for those courses isn't high enough, are there any alternative courses that would be taken into consideration for GPA, such as DIG 2000?
Basically, they're looking at those prerequisite courses, first and foremost, the foundations.
Are we able to contact instructors for advice on our portfolio before submitting?
Sure.
yeah, I've already had a couple of meetings with people in my office hours. So yeah.
Yeah, I've had about 20 students in the last week that have come through. So.
And we have our faculty's contact information listed on our website, so you can find all of that information there. We answered that one. Let's see. Let's see. I am planning to transfer to UCF in the fall of 2023. I'm graduating with my AA and I finished all the prerequisites for the graphic design program. I sent in my application last month and I'm just waiting on a decision. I think this was already answered, but I'm wondering, do I still do the portfolio review for the program?
Yeah, if you have all your prereqs done, go ahead and submit it. And don't forget to attach an unofficial transcript.
But the only way into the program is to submit a portfolio.
Yes.
Right.
When it's time to submit our portfolio, would we go on the portfolio review website where we got all the content info and simply upload the PDF file?
Yes.
Should we list the name, year, and class, if applicable, of each piece?
Keep it brief. If you're going to put any information on there, I would just basic information. If this was showcasing one of the principles of design, whatever that principle is, you know, and what class it was for, if it was 2D foundation, something like that, but keep it brief.
Let's see. How many pieces are required?
Again, you want it presentable. You want to show your best work. It can't be any more than 15 pages. You can put multiple images per page, but I would not load this up so that they're postage stamp size. That's not going to service you. So you want to have some things in there that are going to present well and showcase the detail and the level of craftsmanship that you use to create those.
Will a short description underneath our projects help?
Yeah, again, brief description. Yeah.
And I think this was a follow-up, Wahida. So I attached the unofficial transcript within the portfolio.
Yes, there will be a link that says if you for you to actually attach the unofficial transcript separate from the portfolio.
Where can we find the recording of this call after it's completed? It will be, I'm going to edit it and put it together. It will be uploaded to the graphic design webpage and also our SVAD YouTube channel. And we'll also email everyone who attended a link to it. Let's see. With something like,
Sorry. No, quick question. Is there any other material that you guys are going to go over, or is it just answering questions, that the thing that we have left?
yeah, we're just answering questions. We're actually over time, so
Yeah.
there's one last question I see here.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for the
You're
time
welcome.
and for clearing
Thank
everything
you.
up.
Let me see. Would something like movie poster we designed for an existing movie be okay? I think we went over that.
Yeah, we saw an example of the alien
Yeah.
one in the post
Yeah.
and the one that we
Yeah.
had.
Your take and your vision of it, though, not a rehash of something that's already been done.
Is there a minimum number of pages?
Well, 15 is the maximum, but if you're going to go under that, let me say everything that you're presenting should be an absolute diamond.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you are not showing a lot of work, whatever it is you're showing should be outstanding.
All right, and then last question here. If in some of our strongest designs, we included photography from online sources like Unsplash, are we still able to use them in our portfolio?
I would say yes, we used Unsplash since it's a valid source of photography based on their licensing. We use it in some of our projects, so I have no problem with that personally. Chuck, do you have any?
Stock is used every day, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, but it is used every day in real world. So yeah.
All right, I think that concludes this info session. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending and your questions. And thank you to our professors for all of your insight and information.
Good luck,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
Great rest of your day.
we
Thank you
look
for
forward
your
to seeing
time.
some terrific work.